Het-Heru, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasak Ma Kiparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about integrating with your parallel self. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time watching my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload videos. And also become a Patreon supporter. You can do so for as little as $1 or $5 per month. You'll get exclusive videos, which will talk about everything from tarot, divination, to how to make a ritual, how to contact spirits, all that good stuff. And lastly, there are some free ebooks that we have. Feel free to sign up to download those and start reading today more, where you'll get more information on this subject matter and the esoteric and the occult that will help enhance your life. So sign up for those free ebooks. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be coming out with my new ebook, the new Kepra Ankh. It's going to be the second edition, which is going to have more information, more techniques on shifting to a new reality and improving your life. So with that said, let's get into the subject matter at hand. And I want to talk about this, which is basically integrating with your parallel self. Now, a lot of channels that I watch, and I don't want to cast any negative comments or commentary on those channels, but a lot of them are based on fear-based programming. And what do I mean by that? They'll inevitably get into the realm of, or arena of, talking about the Illuminati, the global cabal, the plan to depopulate the planet, New World Order, 1984 with Big Brother, or August Huxley's Brave New World. And when you start focusing on that, and including the 5G and all that, and transhumanism, what's happening is that you bombard your psyche with all these negative thoughts about the future. We already have this idea from the Christian religion that there's going to be Judgment Day, or from films like a Terminator, that there's going to be a dystopia in the future where it's going to be dark, man is going to run from machine, and things like that. So I want you to be very careful of listening to these individuals, because many of them don't have a practicing spirituality or way of life or religion that they can impart upon you. Many of them just teach fear-based programming to get you afraid for the future, or just to sound deep, that they can decode the messages in movies, or the messages that are on buildings that the Masons have put together. I mean, that's good to have that information, but inevitably what's going to happen is that you're going to start to live a life in fear. I remember when I was researching certain specific things like disappearances, abductions, I started to get very paranoid and afraid. And you don't want to live like that. But here's the worst part. Here's what happens when you start diving into that area. You start to get into neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And what that does is it makes an implied agreement. So you've seen me, or you've heard me talk about the agreement where half the population split off, and that they are now existing in a parallel world where Hillary Clinton is president, and the other half is where we're at today, where we have Donald Trump as president. So when you start following these leaders, or these gurus, or these internet personalities who are going to give you the secrets and decode movies, like they're going to decode Us, they're going to decode Get Out, they're going to decode The Matrix, you know. So what they're doing is, again, it's all fear-based. And if you continually bombard your psyche with that through the process of a culminative effect, you're going to accept that as a belief system. And remember, your spirit obeys commands, and the commands comes to your spirits in the form of emotions, frequencies. So what's going to happen? You're going to shift to that vibrational frequency where that thing that you don't want exists. So if you're afraid of the Illuminati, and if you're afraid of the cabal, or you're afraid of 5G, well, I'm sorry. If you are constantly listening to that and putting that in your sphere of awareness, what's going to happen is you're just going to shift to that world where it does exist and where it will impact you. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is why I focus in my programs on becoming God-man, God-woman. Because what a wonderful world that is, that you could shift to, where you have godlike powers, and yet you are working to make the world better. I have no problem shifting to that parallel world, but I do have a problem shifting to a parallel world where there's a 1% group that controls 99% of the wealth of the planet. and they're seeking to depopulate the planet, and they're seeking to create create transhumanism and individuals who have no gender types. So I don't want to live in that type of world. So I practice what we call is going dark. And what is going dark? It is only focusing on those things that you want and going dark, and that allowing the things that you don't want to come into your awareness, putting it on the peripheral. Do you understand what I mean? So for those of you coming to the chat room, Balance and Harmony, Het-Heru, Karneta, Het-Heru. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let's get the likes up. But I'm serious. I was a very big fan of David Icke, and a lot of them, that are out there. And what I began to realize is the more I followed them, the more trouble came into my life. First, it was alien abductions. Then it was Bigfoot. Then it was wolf creatures. Then it was people living in the center of the earth. You know what I mean? Then it was the dimensional portals where they were taking people and putting them in dimensional portals. Then it was a colony on Mars where they have slave labor camps. It goes on and on. And to be honest with you, when you're dealing with the quantum field, the electromagnetic field, where when you observe it as the conscious observer, it collapses into one of an infinite number of possibilities. All things are possible. All things are possible. If your belief system, your dominant belief system is strong enough, you will collapse that field and create that reality for yourself. So what I am saying to you is be careful about following these guys, because inevitably what they're doing is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, commanding your spirit to manifest those things. Which is what movies are about. Movies are about, especially movies like sci-fi movies, are about looking at what is possible, programming you to manifest that reality. And we know this from films like Star Trek, where Gene Roddenberry was brilliant at predictive programming. And you see a lot of his things come to fruition. Lieutenant Uhura was wearing a Bluetooth device. They had laptop computers back then. We have laptop computers. The Star Trek flip phone, now we have cell phones. So what I'm saying is those things are now are shifting to this parallel world because we wanted them to, because there were many people who were big fans of Star Trek. They were Trekkies. And we have shifted to their world now. We're living in their world. All these things are possible. Now we're finding that scientists now have a transporter system that they can beam your molecules from here to Alpha Centauri. So again, just be very cognizant of the fact that what you accept, everything is a suggestion. Remember, everything is just a suggestion. But if you take it and you dwell upon it and you play those scenarios in your mind, you create that form and that reality. Okay? Now, let's talk about integrating your parallel self. So one thing we have to realize is that we are multidimensional beings, meaning that we live in multiple dimensions. In fact, let me not say that way. We exist in parallel realities, an infinite number of parallel realities. There are an infinite number of you out there. Now, they are in the same time, they exist in the same space you do, but you can't interact with them because you're vibrating at a totally different frequency. But if you were to change your core frequency to one that matches their frequency, then you can vibrate and see them and interact with them as if they were solid, just as solid as here. The trick is finding that frequency, and there's an infinite number of frequencies out there. What's the frequency of where you win $400 million in the lottery? You got to find that frequency of that alternate self of you who won that money. And that can become you in this life. So I want you to think about that. It's all about the emotions that you're exhibiting. What is your dominant emotion at this particular time? Is it one of abundance or one of lack? Are you following your highest excitement? Or are you always down and depressed? And that's shifting you to a world in which there's no hope. Okay? No matter what is transpiring in the outside world, do not look at that and think that's the way it needs to be. It is a delayed reaction. It is a delayed reaction. Because when you start to get into reality transurfing or shifting to parallel worlds, you build that layer upon layer depending upon your emotion. And at the outside world, the 4D experience, there's a lag time. It takes time to catch up. So what you may think is not happening is slowly but surely happening. You just can't see it. It's like the iceberg. You have the iceberg in the water, you only see the tip of the iceberg, but under the water, you see this massive thing. And that's the real iceberg. So you only see the tip of things that are happening when you're practicing your parallel shifting, but you don't see under the water the massive thing that's coming for you, that's going to be good for you. You're just caught up on a delayed reaction, you see. And you fall into the belief and the assumption that the reality that you see before you is a reality. There's no such thing as reality. There is no reality. All right? And you're living in a subjective experience. You're not living in an objective experience. Keep that in mind. So it is a hypnotic tunnel, a hypnotic experience. You're in hypnosis. And everything you see around you is nothing more than post-hypnotic suggestions to keep you confined to this reality, because the ruling elite needs you. They need you to stay in 3D. Because what is 3D? 3D is the realm of duality. It is the realm of the ego. 3D is materialism. So the Illuminati, the ruling elite, has projected their consciousness into the future. And they have scanned probable futures, probable outcomes. And they see the outcome that they want, and they've traveled back to this past or this now moment. And now they have basically embedded all of their architecture, the buildings, the mass media with subliminal geometric shapes that keep you trapped in 3D, because they know to get to that future that they want, you have to first be rooted in 3D, and that will take you to the future. The problem that they're having now is many of us have already shifted to 5D. And we've come back, and now we're trying to educate everybody, saying, listen, we want to get to the future, which is a 5D future. We don't want to get to that dystopian future. We don't want to get to that future of transhumanism. We want to get to the future of oneness, of enlightenment, of higher frequencies. Now, as I said before, you are a multidimensional being, or you exist in multiple parallel worlds. If you feel that you have anything lacking in your life, then you have fallen victim to an erroneous concept or an erroneous idea, because the universe is abundance by definition. It is abundance, meaning that you have all that you need. And I literally mean that. You have all that you need. You are not lacking in any way, shape, or form, because the version of you that you see before you is one version of an infinite number of versions. So this version here may be lacking in finances, may be lacking in a mate, but there's another version of you that has, a harem of men or harem of women, another version of you that is a billionaire. Now, all you have to do is tune into that version, and you can interact with it. And you can get to that point of abundance, which is your true nature, which is ma'at. Ma'at is abundance, and abundance is the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. How's that for you? It's not hoarding wealth. Give me 2 seconds. I have to take my drugs. All right, just taking some supplements there. All right, so let me go over that again. Ma'at is not the hoarding of wealth and resources, as the ruling elite wants you to believe is the only way to live. As Gordon Gekko said in the movie Wall Street, greed is good. No, greed isn't good. You're going for abundance, which is the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Do you understand? Because when you subscribe to that, that means you're consistent. Ma'at is consistency. Ma'at is balance. Ma'at is fairness. On that same note, you should not be seeking equality. We're all not equal. You're not looking for equality. In cosmologics, everything has a value according to its form and function. I am not equal to other people. Other people are not equal to me. Don't fall for that. All right? Now, if I'm lacking in any one thing, what I want to do is integrate with my parallel self. I make an agreement with my parallel self. I say, listen, you have this, I have that. Let's do an exchange. Let's integrate. And we come together and we exchange things. I want you to go back a number of years ago. Jet Li is one of my favorite martial artists. He did a film called The One. I don't know if you remember that, but it came out not too far after The Matrix. And that was, every film studio in Hollywood was looking to come out with their own version of The Matrix. And Jet Li came along and he did something that was kind of similar to The Matrix, but it was a very interesting concept. And in that movie, Jet Li was traveling from parallel world to parallel world, and he was killing off the alternate versions of him. And when he would kill off those versions of him, he, the original Jet Li, would become stronger, more powerful. And it was a very interesting concept. And there was these, you call them like police officers or guardians of the parallel worlds, and they would travel and try to track him down and stop him from killing these various versions. Because once he was to kill the last version, they don't know what would happen. They could rupture the space-time continuum. But in reality, you can't kill the last version because you're dealing with an infinite number of versions of you. So how do you kill that last version off? But in the movie, theoretically, they were handling it as if it had a limit upon how many versions existed in that multiverse. So he would travel from multiverse to multiverse, which weren't too different from his multiverse, and kill off the other Jet Lis and become super strong. He would have superpowers. So that theory is actually kind of sound, and they were on point, but they did it in a different way. So your goal is not to travel to parallel worlds or to meet the other you and kill the other you. You don't want to do that. But your goal is to take what you need from those other versions of you by merely shifting to the frequency and making a deal with them and integrating your personality and integrating with them, meaning finding that right frequency and vibrating on that frequency and aligning. So, for example, if I'm in this, let's call this Earth Prime, and I'm a shy person, I need to connect with the other version of me who is outgoing, assertive, who is A-type personality. And then when I integrate with that individual, I will then lose some of my shyness and become more assertive, outspoken. And he, in turn, will gain some of that shyness and won't be so aggressive, so argumentative, so loud-spoken. That's what I mean by integrating with your parallel self. It's an exchange program, exchanging a personality or even resources. If your alternate self or personality has billions and billions of dollars, you can go to him and say, listen, tell me how you made your money because I want to make my money in this space-time continuum. So tell me how you did it so I can take that knowledge back here and kill it at the stock market. That's possible. That's what we can do. But you see, and this is what the ruling elite is doing all the time. This is how they become so powerful because they discovered the secret of parallel traveling. And they've hoarded that information. Of course, Hollywood tells on them by putting out movies like Jet Li's The One or The Matrix. This is what we need to start doing and looking at. Where you're lacking in skills, maybe you are not good a writer or at math. Well, find your parallel self who's a good writer, who's good at math, and exchange that talent with that individual. Make that agreement. Speak with them. Yes, you can speak with your parallel self through trance. Make that agreement to integrate and exchange resources, exchange talents. The idea is balance because the universe is always seeking balance, which is what karma is about, which is what Ma'at is about. You're not punishing. The idea is if you have a version of yourself that's in the parallel world that is evil, that's going around stealing and hurting people, then you make an agreement with that person. Listen, I'm going to give you some of my altruism. I'm going to give you some of my morality, my kind nature, so we can, and in return, you give me something back that I could use, like your resourcefulness, like your determination. And we balance things out. So you don't do harm in that other universe, and I here can excel at certain skills here in this universe. Does this make sense to you? Because when scientists talk about their multiple intelligences, like kinesthetic, tactile, auditory, visual, or they talk about these other intelligences that are latent within us, they're really talking about parallel selves, accessing those parallel selves. Because when they say it's all in the subconscious mind, really the subconscious mind is the stargate. It is the gateway to the parallel realm. Because when you go into trance, hypnosis, or trance meditation, however you want to call it, you are going into the 5D realm. And in that 5D realm, there's no such thing as space and time. So you can be anywhere you want to be. You can go anywhere you want to go. You can access all of your lives, all of your past lives, all of your future lives, and all of your parallel lives. Do you see what I'm saying? But we have been robbed of the knowledge of this information that our ancient Egyptians, our ancestors, once understood. And they use like things like the lotus flower, they use DMT, they use ayahuasca to go into that alternate realm and to contact their parallel selves and to contact spirits as well. But we have been fooled into accepting 3D. So we are told the physical is all that there is. And we are told by these damn ignorant assholes in the education system that your child is slow, that your child just doesn't have the aptitude, that you can't go to Harvard, that you can't go to Yale, that it's only for the selective privilege and the few. That's bullshit. You have just as much knowledge as those uppity, ignorant individuals in Princeton. All you have to do is be taught how to access it through the right brain. And what passes for intelligence in this world is cunning, is rote memory, is being subversive, and competition to outdo your fellow man or woman. That's not intelligence. Because intelligence is being able to see the whole picture. Intelligence is the higher mind. It's being able to see the whole and the individual details and the pieces and put them together so that your actions don't hurt the whole. The only thing that they understand is the concrete. This is why they are left brain concrete thinkers. They are not integrative, congregative thinkers. Hence is why they have created separate disciplines, subject matters. Those subject matters should not be separate. They should be integrated. In ancient Kemet, Egypt, when the archaeologists went there, they could not figure out if Egypt actually had a religion, if they had math, if they had law, because everything was intertwined and they couldn't separate it. And then they realized that these people were right-brain integrated thinkers, that they looked at things as analogies and they made correspondences. But now these ignorant people are in control of our governments and our education system, and they're telling you that you're lacking. You may not be smart enough to be a part of that little inner circle. I have friends who are in the academic circles and they're getting ostracized because what they say doesn't go along with the grain. What they say departs from the norm. Because these narrow-minded thinkers don't have an expanded view of the universe and our existence. Which is why if you read in the new Kepler.Ankh, I talk about Darwin and Darwinism and how he's connected to eugenics. And how he was so limited in his left brain thinking. He looked and thought that evolution happens in a silo. It happens independently. He could not fathom that there's a divine intelligence or intelligences that cause you to adapt for survival purposes. There's an intelligence that says if the room temperature in this place is too hot for 2 centuries or more, your body will grow and adapt to that room temperature. Slowly but surely. Your body just doesn't change its room temperature spontaneously, which Darwin was hinting at, because he couldn't see the relationship between form and function, or that all of nature had an interdependence and interconnectedness, that we live in an ecology or ecosystem, and everything depends upon the other fulfilling its function, or else the whole cannot function properly. This is how these individuals think. Hence is why they are setting out on their goal to eliminate certain races from the planet, because they cannot see the value in what those races bring to the table. This is your highly educated individuals from these prestigious universities. They're mostly racist. Do you know how limited your thinking is and how low on the intelligence level you are if you are a racist? That means you're only involved in concrete thinking. Your thinking cannot see abstracts, abstract analogies. So going back to what I was saying about the one in Jet Li, He thought that if he eliminated those other versions of him, he would grow stronger. But he didn't understand that it was not through elimination that you'll grow stronger. It's integration, the right brain, integration. So, with that, my beloved, I just want to bring this to a conclusion. I hope this message finds you healthy and happy. And I want you to think about what I've just said, that there is an infinite opportunity out there for us to become anything that we want to be. And that we need to stop thinking in terms of lack, but more so in terms of abundance. And all we have to do is tune into those alternate versions of ourselves that exist in those parallel realities. Yes, they do exist. They're just as real as you and I sitting right here. The only trick is we have to know what frequency that they're vibrating on. And that takes time. And that takes experimentation. And if you want to know how to get there, start with the Sanskrit Vedic mantras. The mantras are what will get you there. And before you know it, you'll see things come into your life that are miraculous. This is how the Christians do what they so-called miracles. All they're doing is just vibrating. And then they're able to create money. They're vibrating, and then they're able to see Jesus. You know, I can vibrate and see Oser. You know, does that really mean that there's a being out there that really is Oser? You should know the answer to that question. Does it really mean there's a being out there that's really named Jesus, or Buddha, or Yahweh, or Krishna? Is it really a Satan? You tell me. It's your reality. I'm just a guest. I'm just an avatar you create to have an experience with. You made an agreement with me to have an experience. So it's your reality. It's what you want to be here. What do you want in your reality? Do you want abundance or do you want lack? Do you want the Illuminati or do you want love and harmony? Do you want 3D or do you want 5D? You tell me. Do you want fear-based programming? Then continue to watch those other guys. Watch David Icke. I like him. He's great, but he doesn't give you a spiritual way of life to live. He doesn't know anything about living a spiritual way of life. He only knows about fear-based programming. Watch Alex Jones. He doesn't know anything about giving you a spiritual religion or way of life like our Kemetic ancestors had, but he can sure scare the shit out of you. And while he's scaring the shit out of you, you should buy some of his health products too. That's how he gets you to buy them. Oh yeah, the water is tainted. The water is tainted. Oh my God, there's a dictatorship happening. We're gonna die. Buy my water purification system. Buy my water purification system. Oh God, oh, it's terrible. The Illuminati is taking over. Run for your lives. Run for your lives. You know, do you want that? Do you want more of that? Then shift to that vibrational frequency, and you'll have a lot of that. Keep watching those programs. You have a lot of that. Or do you want to focus on being God, man, and God, woman, and shift to a reality where you are that, where you command the heavens and the earth to do your bidding? This is Kasank Ma'at Keparu, son of Ma'at and Tootie. Until my next broadcast, I'm in Ra.